pretty sure you all should know at this point, I am a video game who likes playing the video game. Then I take the video games I video game, and the video games go onto YouTube, and then YouTube loves telling me video on said video game got a 10 out of 10. So over my many years of playing video games, I've beaten a shit ton of them. Some of which are my favorite games of all time, others being diamonds in the rough that I wish were a lot more mainstream,
and some that make me question whether or not this hobby was a good idea to begin with.
And if my backlog account is anything to go off of, yes, I indeed do not know what grass is. But starting December of 2023 and ending here in September, I actually managed to do something that I never thought was possible. But before we get into what that is, allow me to bring you guys through the many different kinds of stuff I love watching on YouTube. Throughout the copious amount of categories video, Benji X Scarlet playlists, true crime videos, and things I'm ashamed to say I had to look up for work, sometimes a thing that I really enjoy watching are challenge videos. Basically stuff like live streams of Souls-like videos where they have to try and beat the game with whatever handicaps will be the most detrimental to the player's mental health, to platinum achievement videos,
One I am really struggling to get done myself,
and backlog clearing videos, more so ones that try to focus on getting as many done as possible within a given time period. Oh! Hi Prox! I think the video that I really love the most out of everything is this one from a channel called Daryl Talks Games. A video that I will 100% say influenced this one, so give a look at that if you haven't already. And whilst I was an avid watcher of these kinds of videos, I always would rather just prefer watching other people subject themselves to such a nightmare and just keep doing things at my own pace. Until we reached June of this year. But before I get into one of the best/worst decisions I made the entirety of 2024,
I only feel that it is appropriate that we head back to where it all started.
And where it all started was back in December of 2023. So during this time, I had just uploaded my final video of the year and decided to just take the entire month off to recharge myself creatively. And during this time, I was really in the mood to play some old Xbox 360 games. And since mine went the way of the dinosaurs long ago, I still miss you, my love. I borrowed my brother's 360 so I could play a few games from both my and his collections. And it was a real good time. I was able to get through so many games I never thought I'd ever be able to see the ending of. And that was a great mood booster and a great way to spend my month off. And now if you've also been following me on Twitter,
I will forever keep calling it that because fuck Elon.
and more recently my YouTube community tab, every single time I beat a game, I'll just log it onto there with the title Another One Off the Backlog, followed by the game and then a personal ranking, which despite that ranking being something that exclusively describes my amount of fun that I had with the game, a few of said rankings sure pissed off some gatekeepers. But it was just a fun way to keep track of how many games I got done off my backlog personally, and a great way to share my brief thoughts on how much I liked or disliked the game. Some of these logs even turned into their own videos and shorts, but a majority of them were just ways to share my thoughts on a game that wouldn't always 100% necessarily get turned into a video. Now as we finally moved into 2024 and this tradition of me beating games continued, I was starting to notice something. I actually got a lot done off of my backlog, and with me finally investing in buying a Series S and Xbox One, it just opened up the floodgates to even more experiences I've never been able to play before. And then after every passing week, I just kept clearing game after game after game off of my list. It was insane. And that brings us to around June of 2024. I don't know what I had just beaten at the time. Maybe it was Elden Ring, maybe it was Furry Shades of Gay. My memory is quite hazy, both games are peak anyway. And after logging that final game off of my list, I wondered,
how many games did I actually beat?
and so I went through my YouTube community tab and my Twitter starting from December, and I was shocked like a motherfucker to learn that during that time period, I had actually beaten over 50 games. I think the exact number might have been like 56 or something like that. I'm not 100% too sure on the exact numbers, but this was something that absolutely shocked me. This was probably the most amount of games I'd beaten in less than a year, and that was where I decided, you know what? Okay, I think I finally am able to become part of the larger YouTube crowd and finally be able to beat an unreasonably large number of video games to showcase on a YouTube video. So from that point forward, I tried my absolute hardest to get to that 100 game goal. So I kept on playing and playing and playing one game after the other, not speaking to my friends, not acknowledging my family, not bathing, not brushing my teeth, which actually led me to losing a tooth, not caring, and just kept the momentum going until I finally reached that goal on the 14th of September, where I had finally beaten 100 games in less than a year. And much like us hitting 3,000 subscribers this year,
and me becoming a father,
this is one of my greatest accomplishments I think I've ever achieved. But it wouldn't be an overly monetized YouTube video if I didn't talk about this experience for longer than this. And lucky for you, the rest of this video won't be peppered with pointless slop, but will now translate into a little bit of a character study and a tutorial for those who wish to accomplish a goal like this for themselves in the future. Now, let me focus on the first part, the character study. You see, before officially taking charge and doing this challenge, I was always kind of skeptical about the whole beating 100 games in such a limited time frame thing. It just seemed a little bit too far out of the realm of possibility for me given my work schedule, as well as trying to take some time to myself and spend time with friends and family. But when I officially decided to launch this challenge in June, after learning how far I actually got with beating games off of my backlog, much like a moment in Undertale, I was just filled with determination. And thus I was on this high of me being able to do this, because things were going really smoothly for me thus far, right? What could possibly go wrong?
and since my last video proved that I can just come up with bad ideas on the spot, I'm pretty sure you can see where this is heading.
But despite this ominous foreshadowing, things just kind of fell into my favor constantly, like I mentioned. When I finally decided to launch this challenge, I think this was just around the time I just beat an Elden Ring and posted my Souls-like video, which now is my most viewed video on the entire channel, so thank you so much for the support on that. And not even long after that, I beat Bloodborne, which was another game I just never thought I'd be able to get through. And I was still just beating games left, right, and center, so I started to feel unstoppable. I went from this mindset of just going through games to get them off my backlog for the fun of it, to making it my mission to beat all of these games. This was the plan. This was my life goal. This was my everything. And I'm pretty sure you don't need to be a psychiatrist to know that getting into such an arrogant state of mind, it wouldn't take long until things started crashing down for me. Games went from this enjoyable hobby to a chore, where the only real thing I was focusing on was just getting through with it. And with every game I started and really liked, after looking up a guide only to find out the damn thing would take me somewhere over 30 hours to beat, that really started taking a toll, and I was really starting to wonder whether or not this challenge was worth it in the end. Every passing game off the list, I was just treating them like checkboxes that needed to get crossed off a list. And once seeing that I was nowhere near done with the amount of games that I felt satisfied beating before the year ended, I just started getting more and more desperate. I couldn't sleep because there were just thoughts running through my head as to what game I should focus on next, how long it would take me to beat, what I would need to adjust my schedule for to fit it in, and that mindset left me with sleepless nights, forgetting to do basic tasks, and all in all was just not really good for my mental health. And now looking back in hindsight through all of that, all of this mental health ruining stress was all because I wasn't able to beat a ton of video games on an overpriced toaster oven and some plastic boxes. So I guess I just need to start coping because I deserve to.
And this is legit how things were going when you decide to commit yourself to a challenge like this. It changes you.
And that finally brings us to the 14th of September. I think I had finally gotten around 88 games off of my list, and I had started to finally have enough. Much like you losing any and all of your lockpicks in a Bethesda game and having way too many of them, I just brute forced my way through a bunch of games until I was finally able to tick off that final game from my list. And once that happened, I felt this massive weight get lifted off of my shoulder, like if Sisyphus was allowed to take a break from pushing the thing that Chris Redfield loves to abuse. I was finally done. I posted my victory celebration, started to think if any of this was worth it, and then I went to bed wondering what the future would bring me. But I couldn't sleep for shit, so I beat another 2 games off. So I actually got 102 games done off of the list. So yippee!
And that finally brings us to today. I am the happy completer of 103 games, and since this video is my way of celebrating that milestone, I figured why not try and give you some hints and tips to try and help you if you want to try and complete a challenge like this for yourself.
I would also like to add this. Please don't try doing something like this within its strict time limit. If my downward spiral into the depths of the Shadow Realm was anything to go off of, it's really not worth the toll if you take shit like this seriously like I do. But now, allow me to share with you what I did in order to make my 100 game completion journey a little bit more manageable. Now, this is a very subjective segment, I imagine, because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some smartasses in the comment that doesn't like a few of the picks that is gonna go on here, but it's my video, so leave your hate comments so I can stick it up my wall and laugh at you. When it comes to a challenge like this, there is one thing that I think is pretty obvious. I have to beat a game. And whilst me saying that makes me sound like a complete moron that's oblivious to the obvious, allow me to explain. I mean that I need to be able to start the game and see the credits for it to count. No bullshit, no nothing. And that's the stipulation for me personally to count whether a game is beaten. Because if I pulled a FOCO and completed every game with every achievement, the next place I'll be filming a video in is the padded room from the final cutscene in Postal. Another thing that I feel is pretty obvious, but since we live in an era where a majority of viewers keep scrolling past YouTube videos like unmatched Tinders, I feel like elaboration is in order. Things like multiplayer games, demos, doesn't count towards my overall completion count. For reasons I really hope I don't need to explain, even though I truly wish that demos would have been the exception. I might just honestly make another video like this for demos because I love torturing myself. And the reason as to why I say this might be objective as to whether or not some games count or not is because a lot of games that I ended up crossing off of my list could have taken anywhere from 100 hours or 10 minutes, which is something that really helped me in the final few moments of this challenge. And even in other games' case, like horror games, if there's multiple endings, I do not care. If I got one, no matter if it's the rainbow piss good ending or the enema bad ending, if I saw credits or if I saw the creator's name, that was a good enough experience for me, because I would say that I was still able to experience one part of what they made. Now, this is also something that I really loved while doing this challenge. An important part, in my opinion, about being a gamer is to stop sweating over a keyboard and yelling at random strangers online because they called you the N-word in Valorant. No, it's to go out and find some new experience out in the wild, regardless of the game, genre, budget, year, or console. During the duration of this challenge, I was able to play through a shit ton of games on different systems. Like when this challenge started out, it was on the Xbox 360. Some games were on the PS1. A lot of them were on the PS2, and a lot of them were also some of the latest AAA releases that I was able to play on my Series S. And of course, we can't forget to talk about Steam, where you'll undoubtedly find the most amount of variety in crypto miners out of any storefront. And me deciding to take a trip down this rabbit hole of all different kinds of games on different consoles, it even gave me a shit ton of different genres I could experience to help break away from the monotony of possibly needing to do different games just being under the same umbrella of the same genre. And obviously, during my journey in beating all these games, I went through a shit ton of stuff like horror games, both AAA and indie, walking simulators, minigame collections, RPGs, 3D and 2D platformers, first and third person shooters, beat 'em ups, and even a genre I'm not too proud of whatsoever.
Can't you fucking knock?
And hell, a lot of the games I played span over so many generations of consoles. I was able to experience a lot of stuff where certain aspects of games became popular, where popular franchises nowadays got their start, and just helped me not only get a few games off of my backlog, but also helped me get a nostalgia fix from time to time. And I mean, we don't even need to look too far into the indie side of things. If you're willing to take a look and see what these people can cook up, you're going to easily double the time spent trying out new experiences. And a lot of the time, some of the games I even got off of my backlog came from places like itch.io, a place I thought I'd never really frequent, but lo and behold, if you can't find any great indie experiences on Steam or elsewhere, there's an entire ecosystem of games you can try out if you choose to dig a little bit deeper. Now, as I'm sure you're all watching this are quite aware, I am a YouTube. Yes, being a content creator has genuinely helped me out in clearing a bunch of games off of my backlog. Whether or not I get review codes from the biggest sweetie pie developers so I can make videos or shorts on them, to just games I want to make content on in general, being a creator has really pushed me into getting a lot of games done, because while I don't necessarily view myself as a review channel, I at the very least want to make sure I saw every damn thing I think is important in a game before I cover it.
And if it isn't already obvious enough, I really love making videos. Except doing the voiceovers, fuck those.
Another thing that I really like doing to make going through these games a hell of a lot easier is I'm pretty sure you guys know I really love streaming certain games. Whether or not I do it on YouTube or on Twitch, it's always a blast no matter what happens. Because I'm gonna be completely honest with you, sitting at home in complete silence or whether or not I have a video on the side while I'm busy playing or recording a game, sometimes just doing that can get incredibly lonely. So streaming is really a fun way to get to talk to people, hear what they have to say about the game you're playing, their memories with a particular game, or just shoot the shit with stuff outside of gaming. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you here. Streaming has made a lot of the games I play to get off of my backlog a breeze, because it just feels like you're on a call with a bunch of buddies. And it's always a blast to meet some new people who have their own interesting things to say. And hey, if you have some games you want to get done off of your backlog, then I 100% recommend doing some content of your own on some of these games. Because who knows, you might meet some new people of your own, or even be able to kickstart your own hobby on YouTube or Twitch. The sky is truly the limit if you try hard enough. Now, this is the one part of the video I was truly dreading making, but firstly, yeah, actually, I don't really give a shit. This is a part of the video for you to cope on if you want. With a lot of these games, obviously they'll present their own types of challenges. Stuff that you'll need to overcome to the best of your abilities to prove that you've learned and mastered every single thing that the game has to offer. Unless you pick the easy mode, that is. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if there was a video game on the list that had a difficulty option on it, you can bet your ass 9 times out of 10 I'd be picking easy mode, because struggling isn't exactly something I needed when I already was so stressed with this challenge to begin with. I say 9 out of 10 times though, because in cases like Elden Ring and Bloodborne, I don't really think there's a good way to make these games a cakewalk, is there? But yeah, for a majority of games that I played, I just went through the game's easy mode, not only because I think it helped me get through them a lot faster, but on top of that, it really helped alleviate a lot of the stress that came with this challenge, because I already knew how long some of these games were going to be regardless of its difficulty, so also constantly fucking up adding even more time to the game when I'm already on such a time crunch just didn't seem like a good idea. And can I be 100% honest with you, this was even something I started doing way before I even considered this challenge, because A, I have a family, B, I have a job, so me constantly getting stuck on an interactive piece of media that will constantly sour my mood is not going to work out well if I'm keeping the people around me into consideration. And I do understand that there are gonna be some people watching this part of a video that's gonna call me a pussy for bitching out and not facing the intended challenge of the game, and that I should be ashamed of calling myself a gamer for taking the easy way out. And my response to those kinds of people is, go outside, touch grass, just please have sex once. I also kind of see this as a way to just tell people to not be ashamed of shit like this. We got lives, we got bills, so if playing a game on its easiest difficulty makes life just a little bit easier to manage, then go for it. Maybe just stay away from a Souls-like then, because there is just going to be no winning. Now, to conclude this journey of beating more games than a Riot fan can count to, obviously there are some experiences that weren't exactly the greatest, and a few that gave me a much larger appreciation for life. So allow me to go through the best of the best first. I find it only appropriate to mention the games that indirectly started this challenge back in December, so you can thank these games for this video. X-Men Origins Wolverine, the best interpretation of Deadpool to this day. Space Marine 1, proved that being a space racist can make for a great game. Dante's Inferno, the holy god of war. Wanted, Weapons of Fate, the game where James McAvoy gets to say slurs. Wet, a game that lives up to its name. Transformers War for and Fall of Cybertron, what I'd imagine would actually be Michael Bay's wet dream. Transformers Devastation, my wet dream. Black, proved that gun porn is good for the soul. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the best Star Wars game. The Time Splitters franchise, the only good part about Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2, my first hot take of 2024. Still Wakes the Deep, a Scottish interpretation of John Carpenter's The Thing. Crisis Zone, Time Crisis with less of a chance of getting carpal tunnel. Little Gator Game, Zelda if it was good. Elden Ring, a furry's wet dream. Bloodborne, Birmingham, GoldenEye 007. This man has a funny face. Jitsu Squad, the best Cartoon Network game that wasn't made by Cartoon Network. Chop Goblins, the sequel to Iron Lung we didn't know we needed. Murder House, the Easter Bunny's anger management session. Sunset Overdrive, the Xbox game I guarantee you forgot Insomniac made. My Friendly Neighborhood, Resident Evil if it was good. FNAF Into the Pit, a story of an unaccepting son not willing to accept his father's furry hobby. The Suffering, Resident Evil set in Baltimore. The Evil Within 1 and 2, Resident Evil meets The Matrix. Dead Space 1 and 2, Resident Evil meets Star Wars. I Got Gooned by a Femboy. A Kimbot, Ratchet & Clank. Red Dead Revolver, goofy cowboy game. Redfall, this game gives me hives. Perfect Dark Zero, mediocre dark more like it. Star Wars Outlaws, the only reason to have Ubisoft Plus right now. Hellblade 2, my disappointment condensed into 7 hours. Yeah, I didn't actually play too many bad games this year, wow. Rise Son of Rome, a game better than Crysis. Area 51, David Duchovny and Marilyn Manson's Conspiracy Hour. Gears Judgment, This game doesn't suck, come on! Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith proved that the high ground wasn't enough. Reaver, Ultra Kill with more Gat, The Punisher, Saints Row. And there you have it. Those was just some of the games I beat and played throughout the duration of this challenge. This isn't all of them, of course, but it's the ones I think you guys would be the most interested in, and ones that I think you should stay away as far as possible from.
And with all of that out of the way, I just want to say a massive thank you for everybody who stuck all the way to the end of this video, or as it will be forever known in my eyes, my 20-minute therapy session. This, I have to admit, was probably one of the hardest challenges I ever set out to do for myself, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be stupid enough to try some more in the future. And who knows, for all I know, I might have inspired a few of you guys to take a crack at your own backlog and maybe try something like this yourself. But please, just for me, take care of yourself while you're busy doing something like this. The mental strain is not worth the hassle. But in any case, thank you guys all so much for watching. My name has been John from the channel with the freakishly long name. If you guys liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. If you disliked the video, then may you suffer when you do this. If you want to help support the channel, please consider joining the Patreon or becoming a channel member. And with that in mind, special thanks to top tier Patreon member and top tier YouTube member, A Panda in Space and Mr. Aftonboy. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name has been John from the channel with the freakishly long name, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!